everybody, welcome to the James and Massimo Show, where we talk everything food, gaming, and living life to the fullest. Let's cue the intro music. Hello everybody, my name is James, and as always, my co-host on the phone, Massimo. Say hi, Massimo.
Hi.
So today, the topic of this episode is Fortnite tips and tricks as suggested by Brian McGowan in the comments. Thank you, Brian, for an idea. All right, Massimo, so since we play a lot of Fortnite, I'm going to have you take this one away. Tell us a little bit about Fortnite for the people who don't know what it is.
So Fortnite has a lot of seasons. There in the game you can buy V-Bucks, which are skins. For example, there's a Raptor, there's a Recon Expert, stuff like that. It's basically a 100 PvP battle royale game where it's you in. So there's different game modes. Solos, it's you versus 99 other people. Duos, it's you and a friend versus other people, and squads is three or four people versus everybody else.
Absolutely. So basically, it's a battle royale game that you jump out of a bus onto a huge island, and there's something called a storm that closes in as the game progresses. Now, Fortnite has, I'm sure many of you have heard of Fortnite in your life, no matter how old you are, because it's blowing up everywhere. Fortnite was one of the fastest growing video games I think I have ever heard of. We are in Chapter 2, Season 2. But let's get to the topic of this episode and give people who, let's say, aren't good at the game some tips and tricks on how to win, or how to get good weapons, or where to land if you want action. If you don't want action, if you like to camp, if you like to get into fights. Anyways, let's head to Fortnite tips and tricks. All right, Massimo. So let's tell the people from you, what is your favorite weapon in the game and why?
Could it be like in different categories, like shotgun, assault rifle?
Any gun.
So one of my favorites is probably the legendary pump shotgun. It does 20/20 in the head and like 110 on the body. Very clean weapon, but the thing I would tweak it a little bit is the time between each shot is not that great. So I would boost that a little bit. Also, there's a difference in between pump shotguns and tac shotguns. Pump shotguns tend to do a little bit more damage than tacs, but the space in between shots is not that great. But with the tac, it's rapid shots, but they don't do as much damage as a pump.
Exactly, and that's like, if let's say we had a shotgun that did the same amount of damage as a legendary pump and shot the same as a tac shotgun. Massimo, give me your thoughts on that, if that was in the game.
If that was true, then tacs would override pumps.
100%. It would be completely overpowered. And so since we know each other's favorite guns in the game, my favorite gun, by the way, is the legendary pump as well, because it just does so much damage, and like Massimo said, it's very clean. But let's head into Fortnite tips and tricks on how to get a solo win, or a duos win, or a squad win, because there are many people out there who aren't the best at Fortnite. And Brian McGowan, thank you for suggesting.
So I personally think to win a solo, so I recommend going to one of the bosses. So there's a couple bosses in the game. They include Deadpool, Meowscles, Tiantina, Sky, Midas, and Brutus, if I'm correct. Each of them has their signature weapon. Like Tiantina has a boom bow, Meowscles has an assault rifle, Sky has an assault rifle and a grappler. Brutus has a minigun, and Deadpool has 2 hand cannons. And they're better rarity because there's a new rarity. It's called Mythical. I recommend you go to the grotto because, in my opinion, it's the easiest boss location to go to, and the minigun is a very 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 good mythical weapon. I think it's one of my favorites because of its constant spray, and it's actually pretty easy to get.
I could agree with you there. At the grotto, there aren't as many henchmen as other henchmen, by the way, are AIs that basically protect the boss. There's not as many henchmen there. So I'm going to go with Massimo on this one. I think if you want to land somewhere strong, I think you head into the grotto, get a couple of weapons, kill Brutus, get his minigun. But also in every location where there is a boss, there is something called a vault. And every time you kill a boss, it drops the vault key card. And you could basically take that key card and open up the vault, and there's tons of great weapons. So once you get in the grotto, if you go to the grotto, I suggest you take something called the chopper. Basically, it's a helicopter. It's in a helipad up on top. Now, I suggest using that because it's a really efficient way to get around the map. If you're looking for fights, then I suggest if you see somebody, you boost into them and it will do 50 damage. But if you don't want any fights, I suggest you stay very high up where the players might not even see you and just fly around into the final circle. Massimo, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with James, but I recommend one of a good location is the Box Factory. That's where Meowscles is. I recommend you go there once in a while because it's the only boss location that does not have henchmen.
And sometimes henchmen are very hard to beat. They had a glitch in their system that gave them aimbot, and if you don't know what aimbot is, it is a very very bad thing to put in Fortnite, and you will get automatically banned if you have it. Basically, you hit every single shot from no matter what distance. Now, if you're in the chopper and somebody starts shooting you down, I suggest you go over water and jump out, because if you land in the water, you won't take any fall damage. Now, if you're not over water, I suggest you land very quickly, hop out of the chopper, and build as fast as you can. Building is a huge part in the Battle Royale because, it's called Fortnite, so you're supposed to build forts, right?
It's protecting yourself from getting shot at.
Exactly. And there are many people in the game called sweats. And sweats, that's the language that we use in Fortnite. Sweats are basically people who try very hard to win the game, and they go and make sure they kill every single person. Yeah, now, if you want to avoid combat, I suggest you just stay in the chopper, high up. If you start getting shot at, build and try to kill the guy. But there's a complete other game plan if you want combat. Now, Massimo, if you want combat, so why don't you suggest a place to land?
If I want combat, I recommend, I recommend you go to the agency if you want a lot of combat.
If you can go to the agency if you want a lot of combat, there's tons of henchmen there. Midas is one of the hardest bosses to beat, and many people land there because it is dead center in the map. But if you want to go somewhere where there is no henchmen, no bosses, and just a regular place to land, and you want combat, I suggest you go to Lazy Lake. Massimo?
I actually disagree. I recommend you go to Frenzy Farm, but Lazy is also pretty hard as well.
Yeah, Lazy is really hard because there are very tall buildings. You have to risk getting shot at, maybe even falling off one of the buildings. So there is a very distinct thing in Fortnite, and that's building. Well, not distinct. It's a very, very big part of the game. So building is basically 3/4 of the part of Fortnite. Now, in Fortnite, it's called Fortnite, so you're supposed to build forts. But that's not what people do. People do something called cranking 90s, where you basically do 1x1s all the way up until sky limit. That's what people do in creative, but you don't even always have to do that. If you're new at the game, I suggest building just a 1x1 box with a floor on top and a triangle on top. And, you know, if you want to med up or something, just build a little one of those. Really easy. Massimo, some of the sweats or people who are good at the game use something called Builder Pro. Builder Pro versus Combat Pro. Which one do you suggest?
I use Builder Pro just because without it, I'm very bad at Fortnite. I'm not a sweat. I'm decent at. Me and James are not sweats, but like the other people, like some people, just like for example, let's say me and James are in like a very very tough situation. Like James, remember that one time where me and you were like hiding from those people, and sometimes they follow us.
They stalk you.
For a kill.
Yeah, so basically, the difference between Builder Pro and Combat Pro is Builder Pro, there is certain controls, certain buttons for each build, like wall, stair, floor, and pyramid. But for Combat Pro, you basically have to switch between with the top right button and the top left button. You have to switch between what you want to build and then press your shoot button to build it. Now, I think Builder Pro is much easier. It just takes a little bit to get used to. Combat Pro I started with, but I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I think I'm speaking for a lot of people. So that's a huge part of winning Fortnite. Now, let's go over what we talked about in this episode. So, if you do not want combat, land grotto, take the chopper or helicopter, fly. If you get shot at, land, build, and fight. Fly with the chopper all the way into final circle. If you do want combat, land either agency. If you want to have combat without henchmen or bosses, land either frenzy farm or lazy lake. Combat Pro versus Builder Pro. Everybody, I think everybody's on the Builder Pro side. Builder Pro has certain buttons for each build. Combat Pro, you have to switch. Thank you for listening to the James and Massimo Show, where we talk everything food, gaming, and living life to the fullest. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and like if you want to see more episodes. And I think it's time to say bye. Massimo, you want to say bye?
Bye, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Let's cue the outro music.